If I had to think of the one thing that was the biggest unlocking move for me and for our journey and our mission at Holganix, it comes down to the word flow. And flow is one of our core values. So at Holganix, we have a set of core values: gratitude, flow, love, creator mindset, win-win. That's our core values. So I do think it's important to have core values and to truly live by them, not just put them on your wall. And in fact, I will tell you that if your people can't, the people that work for you can't recite the core values when you ask for them, then you don't really have core values. You just got some things on a wall. At our company, if we got a new employee, I ask them what the core values are on a whim. They don't know when it's going to happen. When I do ask them, though, if they answer it, I give them $20. If they don't answer it, then we talk about it and how they're going to better answer me next time so they can get their $20. But it's amazing how that gets everybody remembering real quick, core values. But when you think about that one core value, flow, that we added that core value, in the last couple of years because it was a massive unlocking move once we discovered flow. And if you think about flow, so Kevin or anybody in the audience, I don't know if you ever were out in the ocean. I have a house in the Keys, Florida Keys. My wife and I and our family, we go out on a boat and fish a lot, and we always see dolphins, like porpoises jumping out of the water, and Flipper kind of, remember the TV show Flipper? I don't know if you ever had that experience driving out in the ocean and all of a sudden you see a dolphin. But when you see a dolphin, you do not have a choice. And I don't care if you saw one 2 days ago, because you're fishing every day, because it's Christmas. We literally went out in the water every day. We saw a dolphin on Tuesday. We saw another dolphin on Friday. Both times the exact same thing happened. We stopped the boat. We're going 30 miles an hour. We see the dolphin. We stop the boat. We all sit and look at the dolphin. I look at the dolphin. My granddaughter looks at the dolphin. My wife looks at the dolphin, and we keep looking at the dolphin until the dolphin disappears. You can't help yourself. You have to look at that dolphin. Why are we so attracted to dolphins? Well, I believe the reason we're so attracted to dolphins is because dolphins are more evolved than we are at being in flow. Think about it. What's a dolphin do? They swim around in ocean currents. They swim with the current. They rarely swim against the current. The current brings them their food. It takes them to their destination. And their only job, really, from what I can see, is to joyfully play while they do their work in the flow. So to me, that's a metaphor for kind of how we should be at our work. Doesn't mean it's always easy. I'm sure dolphins have bad days. We just don't see it. But when they can joyfully play in work, they're in flow, and we're highly attracted to that as humans, to see people in flow. So as leaders, if we can actually operate at a state of flow more than we don't, then people are going to stop and look at us. They're going to talk to us. They're going to want to join us in our flow. Now, if you think about flow, keeping in my water analogy, think about like a stream, right? You can visualize that water kind of babbling down over top of the rocks, and the stream's moving along. Now, I want you to visualize dropping a rock in that stream. Splash. Drop another rock in that stream. Splash. What's happening? All of a sudden, the stream's getting all turbulent. It's going into eddies. It's not flowing so well anymore. You drop enough rocks in that stream's going to dam up. And eventually, that flow is going to be a trickle just coming out through the cracks in the rocks. And it's just going to become still water. There's no flow anymore because you dropped too many rocks in that flow. So in our company, we'll use that term. Hey, are you dropping rocks in the flow? Every time you focus on what you're against, not what you're for. So let me say that another way, because it's how we say it in the company. Focus on what you're for, not what you're against. And that's how you increase flow. That's how you are more attracted to being in that state of flow. Focus on what you're for, not what you're against. We say it multiple times a day. Now, I still drop rocks, right? But I tell my team, if you see me dropping rocks, focus on what I'm against, I want you to bring it up to me, because I want to pause and I want to reframe my thinking. And I'm going to do the same for you. So as a team, if we can all focus on that, we can stay in a state of flow a lot more often. And what's really cool is if you can state a compelling vision that doesn't have to do with serving yourself, but has to do with serving your customers, serving the world, serving something bigger than you and your company, and just stacking up, it's not about stacking up money. It's about making something happen, solving problems that have never been solved before, making the world a better place by making products better, cheaper, safer, more convenient, somehow adding value in a way nobody's ever done before. Creating that compelling vision of your company, being really clear what that compelling vision is. At Holganix, we want to revolutionize the way the world grows. We want to be a partner to the farmer in helping to drive soil health and give them all the benefits that associate with that, and celebrate the farmer as the action hero to feeding the planet and cleaning the planet. If we can just be a small piece of that and help the farmer do that better, that's a pretty cool, compelling vision. So we keep talking about that compelling vision over and over again. Focus on what we're for, not what we're against. Don't drop rocks in the flow. What we found happens is you'll start to attract others to your flow. When you're really clear about it and you operate in this flow, when you joyfully play and work at the same time, then what happens is other people want to be in that flow with you. Just like you can't stop looking at dolphins, people want to join you in your flow. Not everybody, but people that are aligned to that compelling vision. And so when you get more and more people join you in that flow, and it turns into a bigger flow because you have more people putting energy into the same direction. So now you've got a common vision, a common alignment, and we're all rowing in the same direction because we know clearly what it is because we've got our compelling vision. We're in flow, we're focused on what we're for, not what we're against. We get more and more people to join us. The flow gets bigger. It goes from a stream to a river because you got more people in there. You get more people in there, it goes from a river, maybe you can get it to an ocean current. And if you think about it, you can stop a stream pretty quickly with a few rocks. It's a lot harder to stop a river, but you can still dam it up. But you turn it into an ocean current, you can't stop it. And then things start to just happen. Almost, they feel like automatic and effortless. I promise you this can happen. I started this company 15 years ago, and I will tell you that I spent 10 years trying to push a rock up a hill. Through sheer will, determination, and work, I was going to win, and I was going to make this work. And it was hard a lot of days. And then I turned it around. I said, no, I'm just going to focus on what I'm for, not what I'm against, create that compelling vision, and bring others into my flow, and they'll help me make it happen in a way that I could have never done on my own. And as soon as I started doing that, it became, I'm not saying every day's effortless, there's still hard days, there's still challenges, but a lot more effortless than pushing a rock up a hill, and a lot more fun. And that goes to the other piece. I had a mentor of mine say to me, a CEO only does three things: sets the vision. You heard me talk about the vision just now in our purpose statement, revolutionize the way the world grows. Create really good core values that become the operating system of the company and operate by those core values. You heard me talk about those: gratitude, flow, love, creator mindset, win-win. Make sure everybody knows them, make sure everybody operates on them, make sure you coach, hire, fire, make major decisions, all through the lens of those core values. And then go build a badass team that's all aligned in the common direction and working hard towards a common vision. How do you attract that badass team, especially when you're a startup and you're not like, maybe you don't have the best, benefits package. You don't have we don't have much PTO because we got a lot to do and not a lot of people. So how do you attract those really great people that you could never afford? You could never go just, get a headhunter to go get them. They just have to come to you. They just have to show up in your life, and then you got to get them excited. And well, you do that by showing up in flow. You show up in flow, people want to join your mission. And I'll tell you, just in the last couple years since we started thinking about flow, Richard Branson, from Virgin Group, he joined our company on our cap table and as an advisor, and has spent days with us, doing strategic advisory work for free because he loves our flow. Howard Buffett is another advisor and somebody that's on our cap table. This is Warren Buffett's offspring, and he's showed up to help us on our mission. He doesn't need to work. He doesn't need to. I couldn't hire that guy. He wants to help us because he was attracted to our compelling vision and wants to join our flow. When you get people like that to join the flow with you, stuff just starts happening, and then you just got to keep up. And all we get to do is joyfully play and work our asses off, but that's part of the fun while we move along towards that compelling vision. And here's one more thing I just want to kind of wrap that idea of flow up with is, we want to have a goal, and we want to set a destination. We're going to do this by this date, this many dollars in revenue, this many customers, and we set that plan and that strategic objective, as we were just hearing from Rob over here, and or Mitch. One of them said that from Marestown. And but don't get so hung up on the destination. Like, we got to hit this many sales by this date, and if it doesn't happen, then then we'll have to lay off people. If it doesn't happen, all these bad things are going to happen. Well, if you get so focused on that deadline, and you don't just trust that it's going to happen at exactly the rate it's supposed to happen, then you start to focus a lot on what you're against. All the things you fear, all the things that give you anxiety and stress, they start showing up. And then what happens is it gets harder and harder and harder to reach that destination. The more you focus on it, the more determined you are to get there by a specific date, the more you're actually going to repel that end game. This has been my experience, and I've done that a lot. When you set your compelling vision, and you still set a goal and an objective deadline, but it's not a deadline. It's a, well, I'd like to make this happen by this date. And then you work hard towards it. I'm not saying sit Indian style and just hum and say I'm in flow, I don't need to do anything. No, you set your goal and you work your ass off towards that goal, and you trust that every moment between here and there is perfect. You trust that we're going to get there at exactly the speed that we need to get there. And what I have found is once you let go of the timeline, it happens faster than you ever thought it was going to happen. It's just amazing. And when you focus on the timeline, it's the most important thing. It's always harder and harder to get there. It's always a little later than you think. It's always a little harder than you think. And this idea of flow has absolutely changed me as a leader. It's absolutely changed this company. Last year we grew by 300%. The year before that we grew by 200%. When I was focused on pushing a rock up a hill, we were thrilled when we grew by 20%, which is still spectacular. But it was a lot harder to grow by 20% than it was to grow by 200% when I was in flow. And it's a lot more fun. And I can't believe the people that are joining our mission and wanting to be in the flow with us. The quality of customers that are coming to us, and they want to help us. People like Kevin Van Trump wants to come to, he wants to help us. People, like I said, Richard Branson wants to come to us, wants to help us. When I went, and I'm just going to close on this one last thought. When I went to meet Richard Branson the first time, we're going to spend a half a day planning with him on Necker Island and the Virgin Islands. We're sitting there waiting for Richard to show up. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I got my notebook, I got my paper. I'm going to be a really good student. And he doesn't show up at 9 o'clock. And I don't know, we're eating breakfast, just waiting, looking at the sunshine, but we're ready. He's going to show up at 10 o'clock. He shows up at like 10:45. And I'm like, well, I was really anxious the whole time. And when he comes in, he literally has a button-up shirt with one button on the button. Everything else is just kind of flowing. Board shorts that are wet, hair's all messed up and flowing, big smile on his face. And he says, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't get to you early today. But when the wind is right, I always have to start my day off on a kiteboard, surfing across the water. He says, then I can be really fresh and we can do much better work together, even if it's not as much time. So thank you for allowing me to do that. I looked at Brian, who was with me on Necker that day. And excuse my French here, I'm just going to say what I said. I said, Brian, this dude's a motherfucking dolphin. And think about it. If you look at what Richard Branson does, he has 200 companies, all operate under the Virgin brand, and he lives in the Necker Islands and doesn't really do much. He works for 4 hours a day from a hammock, and I mean, don't get me wrong, he has to go travel around and do things, but 6 months of the year, he sits in a hammock and writes down ideas and just operates in flow. And he's the first businessman to put himself into space. I mean, he's done some pretty cool stuff. So think about that. I know that might sound like I'm coming from California with crystals or some of that stuff, but I'm just telling you, it's real experience, and it changed my life. And this message was given to me by my mom in a dream, which is so bizarre. Now you really think I'm from California with crystals. But I want to give her credit. She died 7 years before she gave me that message. But once she gave me that message, it absolutely changed me as a human being and as a businessman. I hope some people in this room can gather that concept and do a little bit more joyfully play while they work and flow and attract a bunch of other people, work on a common vision, make the world a better place by solving problems nobody's ever solved before, making products better, cheaper, safer, more convenient, somehow adding value by solving problems. That's what we get to do as entrepreneurs. I think it's the coolest job ever. I think it's the most noble profession, and every farmer is an entrepreneur that should be celebrated. I don't think farmers always think they're entrepreneurs, but as I see them, they're some of the greatest entrepreneurs. So that's...